year and a half ago, but in my mind, I think it was about 3 months ago, was Jimi Hendrix's 70th birthday, and I got to play as one of the guitar players and singers, and it was interesting because the other guys that were playing, they're all guitar players. I mean, I'm obviously a guitar player as well, but I spend most of my time when I'm sitting around by myself. Even if I try to practice, I always end up writing a song, just kind of where my head goes. But these guys are like, you know, they're the kind of dudes, just every song's solo. And I have, you know, some of that in my background, but I wasn't really thinking about it until about 2 weeks before the show, and I realized, like, man, I really need to get my shit together, because these guys are all really good, and all the guys that come to the show, they just want to see guys play guitar solos. And you can't just totally suck and just be like, well, I'm a good songwriter, you know, it's really cares. So I started practicing. I remember I have a studio, and I have all my amps set up, and I remember I got my Marshall going, which I never play. I'm not really a Marshall guy, and it's a 100-watt Marshall, which those of you that don't know, it's a really, really loud amp. And then I had this fuzz face, and I kicked on the fuzz face, and then I had this fucking communion with God. Because the fuzz and the Marshall made this sound, and it started feeding back, and all of a sudden everything was perfect. And like 8 hours went by, and I realized that's why I play guitar. You know? I love it. And I thank Jimi Hendrix for that, and I thank him for being such a brave soul, because there's a lot of square people in the universe, and no matter what you do, they're always going to put you in some box or another. And Jimmy was such a big spirit, and I think a lot of people, it's hard to listen to him and realize just how big he was in terms of the way his art worked. Because he was one of those guys, obviously he was a great guitar player, but he was just such a, there's so much poetry in everything that he did. Even his physical movement, he moved like Michael Jordan, you know? And he played and he wrote, he just had a real poetry about him. So anyhow, I had to learn a bunch of songs, and this is one that I never had done because it's such an obvious Jimi Hendrix song. And I realized that it's actually maybe my favorite song of his, because it's just the poetry of it's so perfect. So. After all the jacks are in the boxes, and the clowns have all gone to bed, you can hear happiness floating on down the street. Footprints that dressed in red, and the wind it whispers, Mary. A broom is really sweeping up the broken pieces of yesterday's life. Somewhere a queen lies weeping, somewhere a king has no wife, and when it cries Mary. Traffic lights that turn on blue tomorrow and shine the emptiness down on my bed. The tiny islands, they stag on down the stream, 'cause the life they're living in is dead.
wisdom. It whispers no, this will be the last.